All right, let's move on to our final topic for the day. And finally, this week, Justice Ambrose Lewis-Allagoa of the Federal High Court in Lagos declared null and void the sale of Nigeria Air to Ethiopian Airlines. The court ordered that the proposed establishment of a national carrier, Nigeria Air, by the federal government should not be carried out. The judge made the order while granting the relief sought by the registered trustees of the airline operators of Nigeria and 5 others in the aviation industry. Now, the judge held that all the relief sought were granted except for relief number 8, asking for damages of 2 billion naira. Of course, I've got Olufemi Lawson still with me and Nelson Ekujimi. Now, Nelson, very quickly, Nigerians rejoice that finally a national carrier is set to be back into operations, you know. In another breath, negotiations were in the pipeline to sell it off. What exactly are the issues here?
Honestly, the airline industry is one, if we look back into history, is one that has been bedeviled by a lot of problems. But we must give kudos to the President Minister for Aviation and Aerospace Development for the wonderful job he has been doing to ensure that the policies and the structure of the airline industry, aviation, runs according to law. The sale of the Nigerian Airways or the collaboration with the Ethiopian Airline is one that a lot of questions have been raised about by stakeholders. And if they have gone to court, you and I know for free that the court is not an Owambe party venue. The court is a place for serious business.
True.
For the judge to have granted that relief, the judge must have been convinced beyond reasonable doubt. So one expects that in as much as we are clamoring for a Nigerian air, the Nigerian national carrier, I think it must be done with utmost sense of patriotism and nationalism, such that the Nigerian people will not be shortchanged in any way.
All right. Now, Olufemi Lawson, quickly, there was a claim that during the bidding process, irregularities were spotted with Ethiopian Airlines to be favored, which is entirely owned by the Ethiopian government. What do you think was at play here? Because apparently they were tilting everything to ensure that the Ethiopian Airlines get the big bag and leave us in shambles.
If you have listened to conversations around the old Nigeria Air charade, when this new administration came on board and the revelations made after the exit of the former minister, Adesreka, you come to realize that the whole thing called Nigeria Air was like a black market arrangement by Adesreka and those people who conspired with him, to the extent that, an aircraft was chartered, branded, flown into Abuja, in less than 2 hours, thrown back into Addis Ababa. And also, so the revelations are quite real, coupled with the fact that the court has also affirmed that what was called Air Nigeria was just a black market abracadabra, imposed to confuse Nigerians. That nonetheless, it's impressive that the FCC is already involved in the probe of that charade called the Air Nigeria contract. And furthermore, the current aviation ministry is also deeply involved in ensuring that every shenanigan surrounding the Air Nigeria charade are exposed. That, moving forward, we must not leave it at the fact that, the deal is nullified, truly there was no Air Nigeria. We must get to the extent that a lot of our Commonwealth was involved, we invested into this Air Nigeria charade. Who was paid what, how much of those our money was invested into the Memorandum of Understanding and all those. So beyond this judgment, the government of Nigeria haven't been served this judgment, I know in the next couple of days, must also take steps in ensuring that every kobo spent on that charade is probed, everyone involved is brought to come and answer questions, because this investment was not done by individuals. It was done on behalf of the Nigerian people. A lot of our resources went into this. Now the court has said this was a nullity because this was not even a due process arrangement. And that even while Nigerians were crying, we were being scammed and this, and nobody ever gave reason to probe until this current ministry came on board. Now that the court has ruled, the government must not leave it at only ensuring that, oh, the court has nullified the agreement,
Okay.
but ensure that whoever has been involved in that charade called Air Nigeria, which has been used to take a lot of resources out of our Commonwealth, must be brought to come and answer questions.
Okay, why you actually went quite lengthy on that particular path, it appears that when ministers occupy positions, they seem to just do what they like with reckless abandon. What structure would you suggest is enacted to ensure that if it's maybe first quarter, ministers should come and do some kind of a KPI on what they have done so far, so that some kind of auditing of their work? Should they be given that 4 years to just run without checking and looking into what the activities are? Because if there was a structure to actually rectify that, I don't think this minister would have gone that path.
A lot of times, ministers, commissioners, or appointees of government take advantage of the weakness of their boss, their principal, to embark on such shenanigans like we have witnessed in the past.
Yeah.
But I think it's impressive that we are beginning to have governors, and now we have a president who will not even listen to the report from your ministry, but will rather rely on public opinion. What are the citizens saying, to even query your ministry? So moving forward, I think accountability and transparency should not be left in the hand of appointees, but rather the head. During the recent protest, I listened to the president broadcast. What the president first stated was the admittance of responsibility. He took responsibility for whatever. That is leadership. So government must be run in such a way that whoever is called a leader must be seen to be ready to take responsibility, not ministers, directors, or whoever. And when that is done, you can be assured rather that whoever is now appointed would naturally be responsible, not necessarily waiting for when summoned by the president or when queried by the citizens.
All right, Mr. Nelson, your time is already up. I just want you to also weigh in on this. Now, ministers, what structure should be in place for them to be accountable to a large extent so they don't have the 4 years long range to do what they like?
Well, I believe that in every
system,
every facet of our life, there are stakeholders involved. And don't also forget, we have a National Assembly that even has an oversight function over that ministry. Earlier on, we talked about the National Assembly, the Senate, probing the turnaround maintenance of the refineries. Yeah. That is the work of the oversight functions of the Committee on Petroleum, and oil and gas. So one expects, because a lot of times when people are put into office, like that has been my clarion call over the years, that look, governance is not only the responsibility of those in office.
So do you agree there's some kind of a collaborative corruption ring that does not allow certain people who are to do their functions carried out well?
No, I won't want to run with that generalization because I don't have the fact. But I will say it's an indictment on the rest of us. We didn't play our role, because don't forget, some of the persons that you could be accusing of corruption might have abdicated their responsibility. Or maybe they didn't know that this is what I'm supposed to do. So one expects those agencies of government, because even as a minister, statutorily, there are roles assigned to you. You cannot execute some projects without taking it to the FEC for approval. And there are agencies of state, like the Bureau of Procurement, that if you are making some procurement, they have to go through the statutory procedures. So it is those agencies of states that are meant to check government expenses, government activities, that we should wake up. Then we, as stakeholders in the Nigerian polity, must also put our eyes on things that affect our existence as a people. All
right, thank you very much, Nelson Ekujimi, political analyst, for your time on the show today.
Thank you very much.
And of course, Olufemi Lawson, Senior Special Assistant to Ondo State Governor on Public and